All right, Rob Wylde from the band Midnite City is here today, and they have a new album coming out soon called In at the Deep End. It's a throwback to fun, good time, party 80s rock. So if you like that style of music, you're going to love this band and you're going to love the new album. And if you're already a fan, then you won't be disappointed. So we're going to talk about the new album, past and future shows, Rob's time and other bands like Teenage Casket Company and TigerTailz, and so much more. Stick around.
Hey buddy, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah. I like your t-shirt.
Yeah, try to support my buddy Rob. Your friend too, our mutual friend.
Yeah. I've known Rob for like 20 years. Yeah, a long time. Yeah. So yeah, we go back a long way. He said he met up with you in at the kind of the podcast thing in the States a while ago.
Yeah, Rockin' Pod is like a podcast convention for mostly rock music podcasts. So yeah, it was cool. He was there, and there's a lot of other musicians. And it's funny, somebody actually walked up to him and had the Teenage Casket Company CDs and wanted Rob's autograph. I think he felt pretty cool.
He loved it. Yeah, I'm actually seeing him on Thursday. We're going to go and see Winger together. They're over here with weird lineup. They're with Steel Panther, who I absolutely hate with Avengers, but they're doing all the arenas over here. And Winger are opening up the tour, so we're going to go and see them in Birmingham. So I'll be seeing Rob on Thursday. So I'll tell him you said hello.
Yeah, you should be opening. You guys should be on that tour too. That'd be a good pack. You don't like Steel Panther though?
No, I never got the joke. You know, I always thought it was kind of like taking the mick out of all the music that I love. You know, great musicians, but I just never found them really. I never got the joke really, so I don't know. But maybe I'll be converted when I see them on Thursday. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I think because I used to see him in Vegas, and to me it was cool because it was like, you know, kind of like a Vegas show. There was comedy and there was music. And I liked it because I love that music too. And I didn't think it was like mocking the music. I think it was like glorifying it. I think it was the humor part was like kind of like how, you know, rock stars were in the 80s, you know, kind of chauvinistic and sexist and all that. Like that was the funny part. Into drugs and all that, you know, like partying and so that, I thought that part was, and that was kind of the lyrics of the music too, which was yeah, it's humorous, but it would make me laugh. I thought it was funny because it was just so raunchy, you know. It kind of reminded me of like Eazy-E or like, you know, that kind of rap like Eminem and stuff back in the 80s.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'll let you know how we get on. I'll see. Yeah, I might, you know, I'll email you and I'm like, oh, they were great, you know.
I think they put on a great. I laugh. I think it's hilarious, but see, because you've never seen him, so yeah, you'll.
No, so that's the thing. So this is the first time, so we'll see how we get on, you know. Hopefully I'll dig it.
Yeah, so yeah, I listened to the new album a couple times. Good stuff. I love this kind of music, obviously. So if you're a fan of this era of 80s hard rock, glam rock, hair metal, whatever the hell people want to call it, I mean, it's perfect. It's great. It's great too because I love that kind of music, but there's not a lot of new music that's coming out of the 80s, but you've basically done that. You've created, I mean, you didn't create anything original in terms of a style, but you've captured that style and feel and made it new. It's amazing. So it's really cool to hear new songs, and they're all great, of course.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. I'm so happy with it. You know, it's that fourth album. So, you know, we got three before this, but yeah, I mean, in terms of what we do, I mean, it is literally, you know, you hit the nail on the head. You know, we take all those great bands from the late 80s, all the American hair bands, and kind of like, you know, mix it all together and do our own version of it, really. And like you said, I think that there's not a lot of new bands doing kind of what we're doing, really. With especially, you know, we got a keyboard player and there's a lot of keys on the album and stuff. And yeah, it's kind of we kind of have a little bit of a niche market, I think.
Yeah,
you know, with what we're doing at the minute.
Exactly. Yeah, it's cool that you have the keyboard player too, because again, that is something that's so iconic of the 80s. And so it is really, in a way, it is like really original because there's not, like you said, there's not a lot of other people doing that. Like I think there's some bands in Sweden, like Crazy Licks and stuff like that. And I think you've played with them, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've played with a lot of those bands. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff going on out in Europe for sure. You know, Crazy Legs, Crash Diet, all that kind of stuff, Reckless Love, all that kind of thing. But I still think we kind of sound different to those bands. I don't know, maybe it's the keyboard thing. I don't know. But most of that stuff is coming out of Scandinavia. You know, the Sweden, Norway, Denmark, those sort of countries. There's certainly nothing like Midnite City in the UK, where we're literally the only band doing this stuff. So we kind of stand out like a sore thumb on like every festival we play over here in the UK, because it's, you know, nobody really. There is a scene over here, but it's more of a kind of a classic rock sort of blues, you know, your typical sort of British blues rock, almost that kind of like you know, early Whitesnake, Thunder type sound. You know, everybody seems to sound like that. You know, and they've all got the beards, and so we sound just completely different. But which is cool, because we do like stand out quite a lot from the a lot of the bands that are happening over here at the minute.
Yeah, I mean it's got a little more, like you said, the keyboards. I think that is like a unique. There's not a lot of the ones that are doing that kind of stuff, like Steel Panther. Even, I mean, they don't have a keyboard player. It's Crazy Licks, I don't think, does. So that it's a little bit of a poppier, kind of like a Bon Jovi, would you call it, kind of sound almost.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, very poppy. Very. I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, there's a lot of, you know. I mean, I love, apart from all the 80s hair bands, I just love pop music. That's my thing. You know, there isn't like a metal bone in my body. It's all I just love pop music. I love, you know, catchy, hooky songs, and those, you know, massive melodies and harmonies and stuff like that. So definitely early Bon Jovi. There's you know, some Def Leppard in there. There's a lot of Danger. You know, maybe a little bit of 80s Kiss, you know, Warrant, bit of White Lion in there, you know, just all those bands really. But it is very poppy and very commercial, and you know, that's the kind of the intention behind it really. So
Yeah, it's definitely really catchy. I love the first song, Ready to Go. Whose idea was it to put like the alarm sound at the beginning? It's kind of cool though, because it does like rev you up a little bit, and that's the first song, which is perfect.
yeah, that was our keyboard player Sean, who came up with the intro thing on the album. So yeah, that was his sort of department. We was kind of also thinking about what we were going to do live, because we're about to go on tour over here in the UK in a couple of weeks' time. So that's going to be the intro for the live show as well, and then we're going to
Oh.
kick into "Ready to Go" is going to be the first song in the set list as well. So yeah.
That should go over amazing live. And then yeah, there's some slower songs too, some ballads, and like the song All Fall Down though, I could see that that's kind of like a sing-along chorus. I could see that being one that hopefully if the crowd knows these songs, they'll be singing that one back to you.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of songs like that, you know, that are going to be great when we play them live with the crowd participation thing going on. So, and then obviously we're doing stuff from my previous three albums as well. So yeah, it was actually quite a tricky decision coming up with the set list, because you know there's a lot of, you know, to try and come up with a 15-song set list of four albums is actually quite tricky. So we kind of had to do. Obviously, we're mainly going to be doing stuff off the new album, but I think we're doing like three off each previous album as well. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Nice. Yeah. Then yeah, because I think Girls Gone Wild is that the next like single. There's a music video coming out for that soon.
Yeah, that's coming out. It's coming out this Friday. Which will be May the 19th. So that's going to be the second single, but it's going to be the first video, because the first single that we put out Sunday was just more of a kind of like a teaser track that the label put out, which is the album cover on YouTube. So it was just a kind of a bit of a sampler as to what the album's about. But yeah, we got Girls Gone Wild. The video is coming out on May the 19th, and then we shot another video for a song called "Hardest Heart to Break," which is one of the ballads, track 3 of the album. That's coming out June 16th. So there's basically another two videos coming out before the album comes out on June 23rd.
Nice. Yeah. And then yeah, that because that the girls gone wild. That's kind of more in that like Warrant vein because it's got like the gang background vocals, which I love personally. It's very reminiscent of Warrant, I think.
Very, I mean, I'm a huge Warrant fan, so good ears there. Yeah, yeah, very. The whole point of very sort of like tongue in cheek. Lyrics are kind of almost a little bit loving stereo on Skinny Bop, a little bit. It's a bit. That's a real sort of tongue in cheek fun rock song really. But yeah, there's a lot of Warrant influence through. I was a huge Warrant and Janie Lane fan, so yeah.
Yeah, me too. What about tell me about the song Raise the Dead? Because there's like growling sounds at the opening, and like how did you get those? Clearly that's got to be like a zombie type song. It's got a spooky vibe, but it's also like a fun party song. And I heard a lot of cowbell, which is always great too. So that's a fun one.
You gotta get the cowbell. You can't have a hair metal album without a cowbell in there. So there had to be one in there at some point. But yeah, that was a weird song because I wrote the song and it kind of had a different feel to how it actually turned out.
Mm.
It was a little bit heavier, a little bit almost kind of the original demo was almost a little bit early Skid Row sounding. I purposely actually didn't put any keyboards on the demo. But then Sean, again, our keyboard player, he kind of came up with this sort of like cool kind of keyboard riff thing, and it's kind of almost like took on a completely different vibe altogether, and took a bit of a different direction. And we actually had a song on our last album, Itch Can't Scratch, which came out in 2021, and there's a single and a video for a song called They Only Come Out at Night. I don't know whether you've seen that, but we did this very just a completely insane video. It's a 9-minute video shot in this old Victorian hall here, not actually too far from where I live. Really, you just got to watch the video. It's really cool. It's kind of we're all kind of made up like looking like vampires, and there's kind of it's great. It's almost like a mini little movie more than a video. So you got to check that out. But what it kind of had a similar vibe. Raise the Dead kind of has a similar vibe to that song on the last album. So it's definitely. I think that song definitely stands out from the rest of the stuff, which is kind of like more you straight ahead like hair metal stuff. And but it's cool, I think it has a different little twist on it, and again, we're going to be playing that one live, so that's going to be a good one.
And then would there be a music video for that one later, maybe?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that. I think there's definitely going to be at least one more video, and I would imagine that one would be a good one to do, because if we could almost like do they only come out at night part 2, maybe, I don't know, but if you watch the video, you kind of see what I'm talking about. But I think that we definitely discussed possibly doing a video for that song.
Awesome. Yeah. Or could you like shop some of these songs to movies and TV shows that take place in the 80s, or like when they do an 80s flashback and they need a song and they don't want to pay Motley Crue Poison prices? Like, I'm assuming you guys would do it a little cheaper. Like I could definitely see if there's ever an 80s zombie movie, they got to play Raise the Dead. Like, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, I thought that on the last album as well. They Only Come Out at Night, because the whole idea behind that song was just kind of watching Lost Boys, which everybody's seen a million times, but I was sat with my girlfriend watching it, and I haven't probably not watched it in probably about 15 years, because it's one of those movies that when you're a kid you watch maybe one too many times, So I remember watching it and just thinking, oh God, what a great soundtrack, number one, and then thinking, how cool would it be, if they did, a big budget, almost like, they did the remake of the Top Gun movie a couple of years ago. How cool would it be if they did a really cool remake of Lost Boys? And I was just totally inspired by it. And then the next day I actually wrote that song with totally sort of almost as if like I'm writing this song to go on the Lost Boys soundtrack sort of thing. And And I did actually, and the same really with Raise the Dead as well. And I have actually looked into trying to you know, get those songs to the right people. I've got a publisher who works with me, and she's trying, especially she's been trying to get They Only Come Out at Night of my last album pushed to movies and stuff like that, and Raise the Dead will be another one as well, which would be great. So it's something that I'm working on as a band. We're going to really try and push, see if we can make it happen.
Yeah, because I think it just sucks because when bands record these albums and they make such great music, and it's so hard to sell music. So it'd be nice if you get it in a TV show or something, then you get paid for, making that music. And obviously you're going to get paid with the shows too and the merch and all that. But yeah, it'd be a nice little chunk of change for sure.
It would, even, maybe even Stranger Things or something like that, would be another show that maybe we could get some music on that. That'd be great.
That would be perfect. That's a great example. Yeah. I mean, but so speaking of touring, I mean, so you have some shows lined up, but I thought it was crazy that I heard you talking about that you did shows in Japan and Australia. Like, that's pretty amazing. So, I mean, the band must be doing pretty well if you're able to tour that far away.
Yeah. I mean, we did Japan in October 2019. So we actually did 2 sold out shows in Japan. We played in Tokyo and Osaka, which was incredible. I mean, since being a little kid, it's one of those places. I mean, what rock band doesn't want to go to Japan? It was. I remember growing up as well, watching all those classic, like the Skid Row, "Oh Say Can You Scream" VHS.
Yeah.
Where they're flying into Japan and hanging out with the fans and stuff, and the Rat VHS as well. And I was just, as a little kid, I was like, one day I'm gonna go to Japan, and it happened, and it was absolutely incredible. So we did that. It said October 2019, and then literally, I think it was a week before the whole COVID thing kicked off, we went to Australia and we played a couple of shows in Australia, which was March 2020, and literally arrived back home, and then a week later, like if it literally that those gigs that had happened a week later, we wouldn't have done them. But we were actually going back to Japan in December, and we're going to Australia in January as well. So we're going back to those countries. So it's going to be great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's amazing that you said the Japanese fans can sing along and know the words to your songs, even though they probably, a lot of them don't speak English or don't speak English very well. It's not their first language, but they know they can sing along to your songs.
Yeah, it was really weird because we went over there and it was like, I mean, we play all over Europe, and like I said, even Australia was amazing, but Australia was very it reminded me of the States. I used to live in the States for a few years, back in like 2007 to 2010, and it very much reminded me of. It's very similar. Australia is very similar to the States, or I thought similar kind of vibe. But when you arrive into Japan, it really is like you've landed on Mars. It's just so different, and it's just an amazing place. But the one thing that really did shock me more than anything was the fact that literally nobody speaks English, at all. And it's kind of weird because when you go to most countries, even if people don't speak really fluent English, they speak a little bit of English to get by. And we were just so lucky because we have a fan of ours from Japan who literally follows us all over the world. And she was with us in Japan, and she's actually an English teacher in Japan. So she was kind of, for the week that we were over there, she was exhausted because she was just translating literally everything. We get to one of the gigs, and she'd have to translate between the sound guy and what we needed. And without her, I honestly don't know how we would have got by, because nobody speaks any English at all, which I was quite shocked with that, because I just presumed that people would, but yeah, they didn't. But apart from that, I mean, it was just an incredible experience. It was really cool.
That is really cool. So you said, obviously you've been in the States, but you've never toured with this band in the States. Is that something that could possibly happen someday?
We're hoping so. I mean, we did actually, like every year when the Monsters of Rock cruise happens, we're constantly bombarded with messages and emails from people saying, "You need to be doing this. You know, you need to be doing the cruise." And I actually did the Kiss cruise when I used to sing in TigerTailz.
Right.
And which was amazing. So and it's that was a while ago, but it's kind of like, you know what, it would be perfect for Midnite City to do the Monster Rock cruise. So I am actually speaking currently to I don't know who it is, but I've actually been talking to them today about possibly making that happen. Hopefully for next year, fingers crossed. But in terms of actually, coming over and doing a tour and stuff, I don't really know how that. I'm not sure about that, but I definitely think, if we could get the Monster Rock cruise, that would be really cool, and then maybe play some shows around it, maybe in before going on the cruise, maybe, I don't know. So, but we're working on that, so fingers crossed.
That would be cool. Or just like one of those big festivals, like a Rocklahoma or an M3 or something like that. I mean, that might make sense for you guys to fly out to do something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, the Rocklahoma thing that's another thing that's doable. The M3 thing is kind of a bit weird because I mean, I love every year looking at the lineup, and every year there's some really obscure bands that I loved. I saw this year Charles played, and and I love all that stuff. But with the M3 stuff, I never really see any new bands. I don't know whether it tends to be, you've got the big names headlining it, and then you've got the kind of the smaller hair metal bands and stuff. But I never really see any kind of like new up and coming bands on that lineup. But I don't know. But I mean, M3 would be great. I remember going to M3 in God, maybe 2010, I think it was, and it was a great festival. I mean, every single band. I was in heaven. It was great.
Yeah, I've never done the M3. I've never done the Monsters of Rock or any cruises in my life. So that's definitely on my bucket list. So it'd be cool if I could somehow find a way to get the money to go next year and you guys were there. That'd be amazing.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. But you've done some cool opening. What's that?
No, carry on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, you have done some cool opening shows and some other, you played festivals with like Jack Russell and LA Guns and stuff. And, but tell me about opening for Ted Poley, because that's another one that's like, I've never seen Danger or Ted Poley solo. It's on my bucket list. How was playing with him?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, Ted was great. We had a really good time. I'd met Ted many times over the years, but we'd never actually played together. So he came over. It was March. We did I think it was 7 or 8 acoustic shows over here, and I do that a lot as well. I do a lot of solo acoustic shows with various different people. He came over, and we just had an absolute blast. It was great. And it was, for him, it was kind of a little bit weird because it was the first time he'd done the kind of the acoustic thing, and he had a great guitar player with him from Ireland who was sort of playing guitar with him as well, and just doing all the classics. And Ted is still killing it. Every single night he's great, and actually the attendances at all the shows was really good. Actually better than a lot of the guys that come over here. But he was great. I mean, he's a massive influence of mine as a singer and frontman and stuff like that. And so it was just great to hang out with him as well every night. We became really good friends, and yeah, we've kept in touch. I spoke to him a couple of times since he got back to the States, and I think he's actually talking about, it went so well, I think he's actually talking about coming back over to the UK and possibly doing it again next year. So yeah, but it was fantastic. It was a great experience, and a lot of fun.
Yeah, is that something that you could do just to get your feet wet in the US, like tour solo acoustically? Because that's a lot more affordable to just bring yourself rather than the whole band.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. I mean, I could literally just. I mean, that's the beauty of doing the solo acoustic stuff is you just rock up with an acoustic guitar and go for it. So that's something. I mean, I used to do that quite a lot when I lived in the States, and and it always really, because when I was doing the TED thing, I'm just doing all Midnite City songs, just acoustically, and it definitely promotes the band, and yeah, I mean, I do that all the time in between doing the Midnite City stuff. I'm going out with Mike Tramp in August. He's coming over to do the White Line songs. So I think I'm doing about 4 or 5 shows with him, and a few John Corabi and a few guys like that. But yeah, definitely. I mean, that could be something, like you say, a little bit cheaper than bringing the whole band over. That might be something I might be able to do at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know about the Mike Tramp. Yeah, I saw that you've already done at least, I think, one show with John Corabi before, right? In the past.
Yeah, I've done a few actually. Yeah, I've done. He came over last. It was about November last year, and he did a tour, and I think I did about 4 shows with him then, and then a couple of years prior, I did another show with him, and he's great as well. I mean, he's a lovely guy. Yeah, he comes over here quite a bit. Tramp Mike does as well. There's various other. Now I think, like I said, I think Ted's going to be coming back again, and so I get kind of I seem to be like the go-to sort of hair metal guy to open for whoever's coming over doing the acoustic stuff. So yeah, so
that would be cool. What about this tour? We got John Corabi, Mike Tramp, Ted Poley, and Rob Wylde to the US acoustic solo tour. I think that'd be great.
We need to get that booked, mate. That'd be great. That'd be really. I'd be well up for doing that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I find it so. You mentioned TigerTailz earlier. I find it so fascinating that I've never seen this before. Where I'm looking at your career in that band, and you started out playing bass, and then you played rhythm and guitar. And then you sang. It's like you got promoted. I've never seen that where I'm like, first of all, it's amazing that you can play all those instruments. I think you play the drums too. So, but talk about that, because I'm just curious how that happened, how the progression. It's just interesting to me. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, it was nuts, and I very nearly played drums as well, which I'll tell you about in a minute, because that's a really funny story. But yeah, it was very strange. I mean, I got into the band through the original drummer, Ace Fincham, who God, we're going back to like 2012, because I was actually in the band I left last year, but I was in the band for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So if you, I mean, there's been a lot of band members come and gone in that band if you Wikipedia it, but if you look at the kind of the timeline, I was actually in the band for I was like one of the longest running band members. Yeah, I joined in 2012 as a rhythm guitar player. Ace just got in touch and said, we're putting a new lineup together. We need a second guitar player. Would you be up for it? And of course I said yeah, because as a kid, as a teenager, I was a big TigerTailz fan. I loved them. I used to have posters of them on my wall and stuff. So it was a big deal for me joining it. And so I joined as a rhythm guitar player. We went out, and I think we shot a video, and then we went out on a European tour. And then that lineup fell apart. Ace left. The bass player was fired. I mean, then they brought back their old drummer who had been in the band prior to Ace, and then I was asked to switch to bass. So I switched to bass, and I was in that lineup was together for probably about 2.5 years with me playing bass, and then the singer, he left. And then it was like, okay, well, we want you to sing. So then I moved to singing. In I think it was 2015, I started singing. So I sang for 7 years, which is probably what I should have been doing all along, really. But there is a funny story that early on when I first joined the band, we were flying to Italy, and we were at the airport, and Ace lost his passport. I don't know how he did it. We checked onto the flight. We were sitting at a bar, and there was a call. We were the last call for passengers. Blah blah blah. So we were about to miss the flight. So we all went running to the gate. And when Ace got to the gate, he realised he'd lost his passport. So we had no other option than to all get on the plane and sit on the plane. And there was this sort of panic went around the plane, as in, Ace is going to be left behind, and we're going to arrive into Italy with no drummer. Until I said, well, actually, I can play drums, and I could probably, I'm sure I can get through a gig. So I very, very nearly became the drummer. But at the last minute, I mean, this never happens, but swear to God, we were about to take off, and there was an announcement over the PA, and the pilot said we're going to be delayed because we have to change the tire on one of the wheels, so the plane is going to be delayed for half an hour. In that time, Ace had found his passport, and they let him on the plane.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I would have done the full. I would have played every instrument in that band, So.
That's hilarious! Wow, yeah. Because that's what you originally started out as a drummer, like really young, right? Is that what we got?
Yeah. Yeah, I started. I was really young. I mean, I started playing drums first, and then I started taking guitar lessons when I was about 9, and then he started playing in bands really from being about 13, and I've kind of done. I started out as a drummer, but I was always in the bands I was in. I was a drummer, but I always wrote all the songs, and I kind of I always felt a little bit sort of. When I was a little kid, I was just really, really shy, so I liked to be at the back of the drums and sort of hiding behind the drums a little bit. And as I got a bit older, I kind of became a little bit. I got more outgoing, and I kind of eventually moved my way forward to the front of the stage. But yeah, I started really young, and it's been fun. It's been interesting. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, so that was your first band, was Inside Out, where you played drums, and then China Doll, was that the first one you sang with? And then was that the biggest show, first big show that you did was opening for Danger Danger?
Yeah. That was 2003. Yeah, we did a tour. We did the tour actually. They came over, and that was a big deal to me because I was a huge Danger Danger fan, and they'd only been to the UK once before they came over in '92, opening up for Kiss on the Revenge tour. And they hadn't been to the UK since then. So they came back over in 2003, and China Doll was one of the 2 support bands on that tour. So it was great. That was a big deal to me back then, and we had a great time on that tour. But yeah, that was 2003, I think it was. Yeah.
So that would have been with Paul Lane, not Ted Poley, then, right?
Yeah, it was Paul Lane, Rob Marcello was playing guitar, and Bruno and Steve.
Right. So then you started when you started the Teenage Casket Company, you were influenced by Butch Walker, who was in that band called South Gang, and then he started the Marvelous 3, and that kind of gave you the idea, like, hey, maybe I can start kind of a more modern sounding band that's influenced kind of by that melodic rock, kind of more catchy stuff. It's kind of like a Cheap Trick. What'd you call it? Like Cheap Trick meets Bon Jovi kind of a sound?
Yeah. It was a really weird time because I did the China Doll thing in the early 2000s, and it was playing sort of melodic rock stroke hair metal around that time there's never been a massive scene for that stuff over here, but back then, I mean, it was literally almost like dinosaur music, and I was really young back then. I was like 24, 25, and apart from the Danger Danger tour, which was great, when we were going out and playing, we were just playing in front of like old men in like Saxon t-shirts and stuff, and I'm just kind of like, this is not really what I thought it was going to be. And in the UK at the time, in terms of rock music, it was the only things that were really happening were, there was the new metal stuff, which was, Slipknot and Korn and Disturbed and all that heavy stuff, which I, absolutely hated. And then the only other thing that was really happening was all the pop punk stuff, which I wasn't overly into either, but I kind of like, well, but then I discovered two bands, and I had no idea originally who was in the bands. I remember hearing the Marvelous Three and thinking, this is really cool. And then there's another band called 40 Foot Ringo, which I thought, this is really cool. And then it wasn't until maybe a couple of months later that I saw a picture of both bands, and I'm like, hold on a minute. I'm sure that's Butch Walker from Southgang. And I was like, it is. And then, I'm sure that's PJ Farley and Steve Brown from Trickster. And then it was like, there's a reason I like this stuff, as opposed to, like Sum 41 and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was, even though it definitely was, there's a lot of elements that pop punk stuff in it, there was still a big chunk of sort of 80s rock in there, kind of buried in this sort of the mix. And like you say, it's kind of like more sort of the Cheap Trick thing. And, so I listened to that stuff and thought, you know what, I can definitely write this type of music, and it was also, for me, it's out of necessity to, I knew that I either had to update the look and the sound. Otherwise, I'd either have to stop playing music for a while, or I just had it, because that whole melodic rock thing just was not happening. I mean, now it's cool again. Now it's cool. Everybody likes it again, and the image and everything. But back then, it was almost like update or kind of stop playing it, really. So I kind of like got the just kind of updated everything, really, the sound, and got my hair cut and kind of had a John Resnick sort of hairdo going on for a while, and but it was kind of cool that I still kept those 80s rock elements in what we were doing, but also updating it, which is what Marvelous 3 and 40 Foot Ringo did, basically. So we definitely kind of modeled the band on those two bands, really.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's good stuff. Do you think that you think though maybe that's why you guys didn't break through to the next levels? Because maybe you did have a little bit too much of the 80s. Like the 80s people were like, well, this is too punky, and then the pop punk people were like, well, sounds a little too 80s. It's kind of like you're stuck in between.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was, because that band was together a long time. It was like 13 years, and we played everywhere. We did 2 American tours as well. We did a tour in 2005, and then we did in 2006 we did a tour with Veins of Jenna and the Erotics, and also Stevie Rochelle. So Steve Rochelle was with us, and it was the metals. I think it was called the Metal Sludge Summer Extravaganza or something like that. If you look at it online, you'll find the tour, and that was the summer of 2006. So we toured all the time. We were doing. Looking back on it now, it was ridiculous. We would do like 150 shows a year, playing everywhere, and we had this kind of like real cult following, but we were never able to kind of get from here to here. And I think it was what you just said. I think people were just confused. It was kind of a little bit of a few different things, but nothing that, I do think people like to almost hear something and kind of label it and say, okay, this is this type of band, this is that type of band. And we were kind of like a mix of a lot of different things. And I think that's probably why we maybe got overlooked a little bit.
Well, yeah. And then, because I've talked to a lot of musicians that kind of say a similar thing where, in a way, like they're just, you weren't really being true to yourself. Like you really wanted to go all in, like with the Midnite City. That's really what your vision for a band was. deep down. Like you were just trying to kind of change it to fit, and it ultimately, like this is more who you really are, is what you're doing right now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it always was. I mean, it was always, I mean, I never wanted to do anything but this music. But in that period, there was just you just couldn't do it. You just, unless you wanted to go out and play in front of three people and sell 10 albums, you know, it was either, you have to update what you're doing or just stop doing it, for a while and hope that things come back around, which ultimately they always do. But at the time, it was, Rob was the saying, Rob Lane, we were talking about, he come from the same thing as, similar age, pretty much the same age, and he'd been the same as me. He'd grown up on Poison and Warrant and Danger, and he, you know, was exactly like me. He kind of realized that, almost like he saw the iceberg when I did. It's like, okay, well, and he did the exact same thing. He kind of updated his image and his style, and it was just something that we just had to do at the time. And I look back on that band, and it was a great period of my life as well. I don't have any regrets over it. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, I mean, what I'm doing now is what I've always wanted to do. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, in the first album that you guys, Midnite City, had, There Goes the Neighborhood, it seemed like it got really good reviews and really good reception. I mean, I read that it was like 5th best album in Classic Rock Magazine, one of the best albums of the year for Burn Magazine in Japan. But my question is, that first album, whose ass is that on the cover?
Well, a lot of people thought it was mine originally, but it definitely isn't. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. It was the record label sort of art department that came up with that album cover, which at the time everybody in the band, I thought it was quite cool, but everybody in the band hated the album cover. But basically, what happened was they just kept sending. There was a little bit of a miscommunication thing, because we were on for the first 2 albums we were on a German label. And I think the issue was they didn't really understand what There Goes the Neighborhood sort of means, the phrase, like we all know what There Goes the Neighborhood means, but I don't think they got that. So we were trying to say, well, this is sort of what it means. And, so they just keep sending these album covers that were just awful. It was just no. And then in the end, the label kind of started getting pissed off and said, look, you either have to pick one of these album covers or the album's going to get delayed by 6 months. So then it was kind of like, well, this one's probably the best of a bad bunch, which is the one that we chose. So, but to me, I mean, I like the album cover. I think, I mean, it just screams, when you pick up that album, there is no doubt as to what kind of music, you're going to be listening to, so. And it kind of has that, almost like that screw it sort of, cherry pie. When you look at that album cover, what it's going to be, what kind of music you're going to be listening to. So, yeah. But I don't know who the girl was. I think it was just, I don't think it was photoshopped, or I have no idea.
That's interesting. That's funny. So for a while you were doing the Midnite City and the TigerTailz, and then you finally left the TigerTailz in 2022. I never understood this. It said you left TigerTailz due to irreconcilable differences. What does that mean? I always hear that. I'm always like, what? But okay, but really, what happened?
Good question. It was a tricky one. I mean, I enjoyed doing. I loved singing TigerTailz. I had a great time, and I'd never say anything otherwise. And we played some amazing shows. Like I said, the Kiss Cruise was. As a massive Kiss fan, that was a real dream come true for me. Getting to meet Kiss, and we played some amazing festivals out in Europe, and it was a great time. I don't have any regrets, but with TigerTailz, there's always been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And I mean, if you look at how many band members have come and gone. I mean, they've been together forever, but I mean, I mean, I think that in the time that I was in the band, I think there was 5 or 6 lineup changes. So it was more what was sort of going on, sort of behind the scenes. That it just made it kind of an impossible situation for me to still be involved. And I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that, but I thought about leaving for quite a while, probably a year before I did. And it's a shame because I could have easily carried on doing both, because TigerTailz never really, when I first joined, we were really busy, and then the last sort of few years we'd do maybe 2 or 3 shows a year, or but I could have definitely carried on doing it, but there was just too many things going on behind the scenes, and it was just, it was just one of those situations that I just sort of figured, it's best for me to kind of step away from it, and that's what I did. So that's it really. I'm not gonna dish any dirt. So
No, that makes
and they're
sense.
quite cool. They've not really done. I mean, there's 2 sides to every story. Obviously,
Sure.
I could obviously say a lot of things, but I'm not gonna. It was all I would say, but it was good while it lasted, and I don't have any regrets at all. But it was time to move on.
Sure, because I think, if you notice that too, like the older you get, the kind of less like bullshit you want to put up with. Like you want to just do what makes you happy. And it sounds like Midnite City is what makes you happy, and you want to just focus on that. And you don't want to be like, okay, well, I should do this to make people happy, or I should stay here because this might be a bigger band, or what, or this I get to do the Kiss cruise with this. Like, who gives a shit? Like, you want to do what makes you happy, and then I feel like the good stuff will come eventually.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, and it was also, when stuff gets to a point where it's kind of you're getting anxious about doing stuff. I mean, that shouldn't be,
Or dreading it or whatever. Yeah,
dreading it a little bit, and it, it should be, obviously it's work. It's
right.
what we do for a living, and you've got to take it really serious. But at the same time, you do have to. It is supposed to be fun, and if it's not fun, then you shouldn't be doing it. And that was kind of what it, in the end, was sort of what was happening with TigerTailz. It just wasn't fun. It was just a lot of stress, and I'm just like, I don't really need this in my life. It's supposed to be, supposed to be fun. I'm supposed to be having a good time. And so that's it really, and probably for them as well. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but it just wasn't working, and it was just time to move on and move away from it really.
Yeah. So with this new album with Midnite City, what are your expectations or goals for it when it comes out? What do you want to happen?
Well, you know what? I mean, we're kicking off a tour pretty much, like I said, in 2 weeks' time. On the 2nd of June, we're doing a UK tour, which takes us all the way through to the all the way through June, and then we got some festivals. We got a festival out in Europe in September, and like I said, Japan in December, Australia in January. And for us, it is just all about kind of building the band back up, because we were. It was quite frustrating really, because we had we'd made so much momentum on the first 2 albums, and we were kind of really, it felt like we were kind of doing this, and then the whole COVID thing happened, and it really felt like the rug had been pulled from beneath us really. And our 3rd album, it was recorded during COVID, and it was we couldn't really go out and tour, and it was a weird time. So it was so it's great now that we with this new album that everything's back to normal. We can properly get out and we can properly tour this album, and that's what we're planning on doing. We'll at least spend a year and a half at least trying to tour on the back of this album. And we do a lot of like I said, a lot of festivals and stuff like that. So we've actually got a new booking agent in Europe, who's at the minute kind of looking for cool festivals for us to play out there, and also a tour with I think the one thing we need more than anything is just to get on a good tour, you know, which is something that we've been trying to do for a few years now, which is it's not that easy to do, but I think that's one thing that we need. I mean, ideally, like we were talking earlier about the you know the stuff that goes on, you know, the arena tours and stuff. You know, ideally, the stadium tour, you know, the Poison, Def Leppard, something like that would have been amazing for us, you know. But I think, yeah, just trying to get on a good tour, I think is, and apart from that, just keeping the momentum going, because it's you know, so far so good, you know. So we're just trying to keep it rolling.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see like a melodic rock tour. Like, I feel like that. I mean, I'm sure there's been stuff in the past, but it seems like lately there hasn't been one. But it'd be cool to see something like Warrant and Winger and you guys and like a Ted Poley, like all just like 5 or 6 bands, like something a little meatier than just like 1 or 2 or 3. You know, like let's have like 4 or 5 or 6 like really good bands. I think that'd be really fun. And then you guys, you know, the more bands, I feel like the bigger venues you can play. So then it makes more sense.
That's it. I mean, we'd love to do that. I mean, that'll be the icing on the cake for us, really. I mean, there is talk of actually there is talk of a festival happening over here in the UK with some, you know, it's in the early stages of kind of being organised at the minute, but there's apparently about 3 or 4 big American bands, and then we've been thrown into the hat as well. It'll just be a one-off, because there was actually a festival over here which used to happen every year in October. It was called Firefest, and it would happen over 3 days at a venue here in Nottingham called Rock City, which is kind of like almost like the, you know, the kind of almost like the whiskey a go-go of the UK sort of thing. And it would happen every year, you know, and you know, it would be a 3-day thing, and there'd be about 8 bands on each day, and it was all just melodic rock, hair metal, AOR. So you'd have, you know, Danger and Warrant and Winger, Firehouse, and you know, name a band from that era, they all came over. And there's rumours that that's going to be starting up again next year. So hopefully, you know, that's the case. We will be. Like I said, we have been thrown into the hat to do one of those shows. So
that'd be yeah, that'd be cool. Well, if you can't do a show here, maybe I'll have to fly. I've never been to Europe. I've always wanted to go. It's just like, obviously, I was looking at the prices yesterday. I was like, oh damn, we got to make more money. So, but people,
it's not cheap. Not cheap.
No, but people can pre-order this. Can they pre-order this album now? It's not out yet. Yeah. Okay. So they can pre-order. Can you get? Are you doing like the vinyl and all that stuff too?
We're hoping to do the vinyl next year. It won't be on the release. Our last album we did vinyl for. It's something that we had hoped to have coming out simultaneously with the album, but that hasn't quite worked out. But we are looking at doing vinyl next year, so I'll probably do blue vinyl or something to go with the album cover. So yeah.
Cool. And then merch too. You guys, people can buy T-shirts and stuff like that on the website as well.
Yeah. We're actually our website, which is just midnitecity.com, is actually being updated as we speak, and we'll have all the new merch up there. And then we're also we get a lot of requests for kind of, you know, previous tour shirts and stuff like that. So we've got a whole new shop section on the website, so there'll be absolutely tons of merch going up, and that hopefully should be live this week. So that's just midnitecity.com.
Cool. All right. Well, I always end also promoting a charity or a cause. Is there something that's near and dear to your heart you want to give a shout out to here at the end?
Yeah. I'm going to shout out for the website's dementiauk.org. And that's sort of, to me, that's a cause very dear to my heart, as my mum, unfortunately, suffers from dementia, and it's absolutely horrible disease, and it's awful. So that's something I try and do. You know, I try and you know, carry the cause for that website really, and just in general, anything dementia related, I try and kind of, you know, fly the flag a little bit for that. But if you just go to dementiauk.org, there is actually a donate button on the website which you can donate money to. So
okay. Yeah,
That's
perfect. I'll put that link in the show notes along with the band's website. Yeah, my grandfather had the dementia too. It sucks because it's like it robs the person of who they are. Like, you know them as this person, then when the dementia hits, it's like they're not the same person. So it's like it's sad. It was sad when my grandfather passed, but I was like, at the same time, I was like, he was kind of already passed to me. Like he wasn't the same, you know, like storyteller and outgoing and gregarious guy that I remember as a kid. And so it's sad to see that. But hopefully with donations, maybe we can make a dent in that and find a cause or cure or whatever.
It needs. I mean, it's actually one of the biggest killers now. Which is, it's just horrible. And there is actually over here there is a festival that it's called Dementia Aware Festival that happens a few times over here, and I've been involved with a couple of those shows. You know, so anything that I can do to help in you know, trying to raise some awareness of this and, you know, get some money behind it, I'm right behind. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and I hope to see you play some music live someday soon. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, thanks, man. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on your show. It's been great.
All right, see you, Rob.
See you, mate.
Bye. Well, that was fun. My thanks again to Rob in Midnite City. He's making great music, and I hope people will check it out. Links to the website is in the show notes. Special thanks to Rob Lane for helping connect us, and make sure you follow all of us on social media. Follow Rob Lane Straight to Video podcast, this podcast, and myself on social media. Check out some of the other episodes of my podcast, like my interviews with Mike Tramp, Ted Poley, John Corabi, all people that we mentioned in this episode. So I appreciate all your support. Have a great rest of your day, and shoot for the moon.